For the Rainbow Municipal Water District Board of Directors Special Board Meeting for September 17th, 2025. May I have a roll call, please?
President Hamilton,
Here.
Director Mack,
Here.
Director Irvine,
Here.
Director Hoffman,
Here.
and Director Townsend Smith is absent. Thank you.
Would you please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance? Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Are there any modifications or updates to the agenda?
None from staff, no.
Any from the board? Do we have a motion to approve the agenda as published?
So moved. Second.
Moved by Director Mack, seconded by Director Irvine. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Do we have any members of the public in attendance?
No, sir.
Okay. We no written requests? I will skip the public comment readings then and consider the appointment of an ad hoc committee to review and for review and recommendations on strategic planning facilitator proposals. You want to jump in there?
Sure,
Okay.
I will. Yeah, so, our strategic plan was last updated in 2020. So we had intended, it's been 5 years. And so we had intended this year to refresh, update that strategic plan. We sent out proposals for a facilitator, somebody to facilitate workshops and, somebody who's really experienced with these kind of things. So we sent RFP out several weeks ago and are ready to review those proposals. This is something that is going to require some pretty significant engagement by the board. Obviously, we want the board's vision to be part of, kind of central to the strategic plan. And so our thought was, and I had discussed this with the board president, was for kind of this first round to create an ad hoc committee of the board along with myself and some key members of staff to review those proposals and come back to the board with a recommendation. And that recommendation could be, a recommendation to award. It could be, hey, we want to interview a couple or all of these firms, all 5 board members. We would kind of leave that to the ad hoc committee, but really the desire was to get a couple of board members to participate in that to kind of gain a consensus, just because, this is unlike a, professional services engineering contract where, we're going to run off and staff's going to be with them for the next year. It's really going to require a lot of board engagement. So we'd really like your input up front ahead of any kind of recommendations and things like that.
And being lazy, what Jake told me is that we have about 6 responses to the RFP.
I think we got 4 actually.
4?
Yeah,
Okay.
they actually just came in last night. Yeah, yesterday was the deadline.
Okay.
So, well, it depends on which consultant you select and how we negotiate. It'll be sub 100,000. 25 to 75, let's call it that.
Anyway, the thought process was, rather than having the whole board reviewing all the RFPs, is that the ad hoc committee would take a look at them and rank order them or review them and make recommendations back to the board, and then willow it down to 2 or 3 that we would basically take and study.
Jake, I looked at the last one we did. Told me nothing. Who did that? It just seemed like a document that to me, I saw very little value in it. It was fluffy phrases. It was things that, don't really give any concrete sort of direction.
Yeah, and
I'm familiar with them because I ran the last
right.
one, Rona, and it's
well, and this is, I think this is part of the reason why we want the board engaged, because we want your voice to be part of that document. It is important, and there is a lot of, I'll say this, there's a lot of underlying things beneath, like you're obviously looking at the very high level stuff. Hey, these are kind of major things we want to focus on. Some of them are just district core values and things like that, which we're just going to review and, you know, do we need a refresh, those kind of things. But we definitely want those things to reflect the opinions of this board on kind of strategically where we want to move. But also, and you'll see in the RFP, we've asked for also very strategic things that we're going to be trying to accomplish over the next year that move into those kind of higher level things that we're going to develop together. So I think, you know, not impressed with the old one. I think that's all the more reason why we would like, you know, those kind of opinions going, hey, if we're going to do this thing, I don't want it to be of no value, right? There's no, I don't like
Usually
the
there are
rubbish.
documents
Yeah.
that sound good in the beginning and they end up on a shelf.
and
My question would be, with the last one we did, when was the last one? It was
well, the update was in
2020.
2020.
So
So,
how
and
much has that been a guiding document? I mean, I think maybe with some of the
We
organizational. core
focus on,
values.
we focus on the 6 strategic focus areas that were identified in the original 20, I think 15 plan. And then staff kind of updates the like measurable goals every year. That's part of what goes into the goals that we put in our budget document, and things like that. So the consultant that we had in 2015 did produce a more in-depth written document, but aside from what's visible like on the website and stuff related to that, there was also spreadsheets with specific measurable goals and sub goals and how will we know when we achieved this. And that spreadsheet just over the years got outdated. Most of them had been achieved, or staff decided or the board decided that they weren't meaningful enough. So we just kind of stuck with those 6 strategic focus areas that the board had identified then, and that's what we kind of, the management team builds our goals on each year. For the 2020 update, it was a different consultant than we used in 2015. The 2015 consultants, she keeps telling us she's attempting to retire, so she didn't bid in 2020 and she didn't bid this year or this time either. So we used a different consultant, and he didn't provide, I think he went through a process with the board, but it wasn't the same deliverables in terms of a written document, trackable metrics and things like that. But it was also modified because it was right as COVID happened, as we'd started the process. And so I think his normal process probably was interrupted by that.
Because normally, I mean, strategic plans are typically something that's sort of pushed through the board to staff. Usually that tends to be the impetus behind it.
And I think that's
Yeah,
what
that's what
we're,
we're trying to
that's
do.
kind of what we're looking
Right.
at. Yeah.
Right, but my question to you is, like, how useful do you feel that would be as staff to your day-to-day and week-to-week and month-to-month ability to operate? I mean, how valuable do you feel that would be to you?
I think there's a couple things that I would find really valuable. You know, one is, I think, you know, making sure we have board alignment on kind of the strategic direction that we're headed. I think that does help us form what goes underneath there, right? You want to accomplish this. These are the 17 steps or whatever it is that it's going to do. I think there is some significant value there. You know, to be honest, it helps us direct our resources in the right spot, you know, and that's kind of why we were pushing the schedule that we're pushing, because we would like to finish this thing early next year. So, you know, 5-6 month kind of a schedule, which is a bit of a push for one of these things, but, you know, really directing us into the next budget season on things you would really like to see us accomplish, right? In whether it's 1 year or 5 years. The other thing, I think it's important for staff, you know, I think it helps. Again, it's kind of a culture thing and that kind of focus, but it helps them see where their jobs fit into the grand plan of the district. And I can talk about it and those kind of things, but I think coming from the board and coming from, you know, kind of a collaboration between executive leadership and the board really kind of sets the tone for those things. And it does. It includes, obviously, you know, our core values, things we want to live, integrity, and all these things we want to live by. That aren't just words. They are, you know, these are things we preach, right? And we strive to live by. But I think that those two things, I think, are where I really see the value. But it's really, yeah, it's kind of, pulling out from the board, and, we're kind of a new, we're a new group,
Are you
right?
anticipating like community charrettes and things of that nature as part of this?
We did have some, kind of stakeholder input.
You said we had.
Well, in the RFP.
Okay.
In the RFP, we included as far as part of the facilitation, obviously the board, executive staff, all staff. So we want to get, feedback, top to bottom. So that was all included in there. And then we did include some stakeholder outreach, whether that's, ag residential, we'd like to get at least a cross section to get, some public participation that way. We think that would be valuable too. So that is included in there.
Yeah, that's the process that we went through in 2015. We didn't go through that in-depth process in 2020.
What is the thing Amanda's been working on that she shows us that was so in depth and we went over it?
That
and
was
over
the
it?
strategic communications plan.
Okay.
So that is like one of the 6 strategic focus areas from the overall strategic plan is communications. And so that was, we're kind of standing up the department as its own standalone thing rather than being kind of an add-on to other people's jobs. So that's,
I've done
That-
so many of these with the measurable outcomes and things like that, which is difficult to write and get teachers to
Yeah.
understand. I mean, mine was teachers. We worked so hard on it for accreditation purposes. We had to. I don't know if CSDA, whoever our accreditation.
This is for us.
for us.
Do other
for us.
districts have this?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
It's pretty
what's
common
it?
practice.
I
It's-
just feel like they never looked at it again. We put so much work into it. We got a 6-year accreditation, woo, and then we never looked at it again. Now, as administrators, we're pushing it, but they want to go correct papers, So I don't know,
Yeah,
know how
Well,
valuable.
I think that is, sorry, I didn't jump in.
No, please.
That is a very, very common phenomenon,
Mhm.
I will say. When you have these big documents, you work so hard on creating this big vision for what you want. And then, it sits in a notebook on a
Don't
shelf
have
or
to look
something
at it,
like
yeah.
that. So there are quite a few things we did to try to make that not the case when we did our previous ones. One was every single board action item, staff has to add in, what is the strategic focus areas that this is, this action
Addressing.
is addressing. We have our coin recognition program, which is based on the core values that were identified as part of the first process, not the what we're going to do, but how we're going to do it. But it also has the strategic focus areas. We address it in all of our performance reviews for staff. So even from a utility worker through customer service, every level of the organization, staff, understands how their role fits into everything that
I
we
just
do.
feel like we could do it ourselves. Like I want to meet with operations. I want to be on a committee and I want to talk to them and I want to find out what they're thinking. And then read through it. Is this old? Is this new? Do you like this? And make them have ownership with it.
This
Yeah,
will be
this-
driven by us. I think our thought was it's going to be a much more streamlined and cohesive process if we have somebody that's very experienced doing that. I mean, me and Carlene, but it's, the burden on staff, I think, is going to be a little heavy.
Is it an MC that we're facilitating? Is it for IT?
No, it's
makers?
going to be an expert in both strategic planning and likely a, longtime city manager type, though, that kind of thing, but actually has the time to devote to, really digging into these things. The one thing I didn't mention too was the other thing we asked for in the RFP was, as a result of it, we do want some, we want to take a look at our KPIs, the key performance indicators that are driving kind of all the core things we're doing at the district, and really, kind of, obviously that's going to fall on the staff's going to be heavily involved in that too. But I think that's one of the outputs from this thing too, is, are we looking at the right KPIs, or the other thing, things have evolved over time, right? Or is there more we can do? And so I think some outside insight into that would be really good too. I don't think the board just wants to hear from me. I think having an outside voice expert is really valuable.
My feeling is, if you guys as staff really feel like that helps you, I'd be more inclined to do it. Like I said, typically this is something that boards are trying to push for, and staff is like, we got it. We know what we need to do. But this is unusual for me because you guys are saying, hey, we need this. It helps us. It's a good thing. So I mean, I'm more open to it with hearing from you guys saying this would help us do our job better. This would help us be more efficient. This would help us be more focused on goals and things. And if you feel that way, I'm open to it. I just back to the point of, pretty documents sitting on a shelf. I've been through this process twice. And afterwards, it sat on a shelf and very little got done with it. And I sort of have this, I don't know.
My
less than
experience is
enthusiastic.
all depends on what your management implementation strategies are. I worked for one company that we did basically a strategic plan every year, but it was a 5-year rolling plan. We looked at the last 2 years, the current year, and projected for the 2 years out. And that was very operational. I mean, everybody in the departments lived and died by it because you looked at how you were accomplishing your goals and objectives. I worked for another company that had a pretty book on the shelf that nobody ever looked at.
Yeah.
And so it comes back to how management drives staff relative to the goals and objectives. And, as the board, we need to set the high level objectives for Jake to say, okay, I got to figure out how do I accomplish these particular
Right.
goals.
Well, that's partly what we're going to be going through this afternoon with Jake.
In part,
setting
yes,
goals for him.
yeah.
So again, stating of the obvious and things that last strategic plan sort of showed me was not very useful. What we're supposed to be going through today should be setting some of those goals and
For sure.
objectives for you. How much more value added a consultant can be by shepherding that process at a deeper level. Like I said, if it's something you guys feel like would help you, it's worth the money. If you really believe that process would help you guys be better as an organization, I'll support it. But it's just one of those things. I'm a kind of a dubious believer in some of these concepts of strategic plans and bringing the consultant out and going
I
through
just
this.
think this
process.
absolutely necessary at this moment in time when we're struggling a little bit financially. I feel like, or it's coming,
Yeah.
if we're not being
Yeah,
made
go-
to
go
do
ahead.
it.
I think we have such limited resources. It informs how do we prioritize with using those limited resources to what's really important to, to the board, and having a consultant that engages at all levels, getting information from the line staff, like you were talking about, wanting the information from operations, that they can kind of facilitate that process of getting the board the insight that only the people in the field have that firsthand experience.
I feel
But
like we
what
can do it.
But the thing is, what I think would be more valuable would be a management audit as opposed to a strategic plan. I mean, going back to what you said, having an objective third party come in and going into the organization and looking at efficiencies, look at who's doing what, those types of things, have an outside management audit to me would be more productive than say a quote strategic plan. So if we're going to prioritize resources towards some effort, I would rather see something like that than a strategic plan.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think in a way that's kind of what this is, right? Setting, but we kind of need that vision from the board, right? Because if you look at our strategic plan now, and hey, we're going to do some of that today. You're absolutely right. Here's what I'll say. I'm 100% with you. I have no interest in putting a pretty document on the website so people think that we're fancy or anything like that. My only interest is making sure that the direction from the board is very clear and that staff understands what their role is, and we have the metrics that we want to do those things. That is my only interest. If I felt it wasn't going that way or it wasn't going to go that way, I wouldn't even bring it up, right? I wouldn't even bring it up. But I do think this kind of sets the table for that. It's and I think in a lot of ways it becomes very valuable. But it is kind of what we make of it, right? But I think if we all go in with that attitude that this isn't for show, this isn't for that, we want strategic, operational, strategic objectives that, you know, drive this district to where we want it to go. That's what I'm after. That's what I'm after. And so that's, I mean, that's kind of the whole purpose of this item is I want 2 board members in from, I mean, we could have all 5 if you guys want to do it in an open meeting. I just thought we thought the ad hoc might be a better avenue until we get to that point where it's kind of time to go.
I have a question. Was the one we did in 2020, was that Brent Ives that did
Yes,
that?
it was.
Okay, so I remember all that. Okay. And I will agree with you. I thought it was very good. Brent Ives is phenomenal. He writes books, and he actually did training on transparency, and it's one of the requirements that a board member has to go through. He's a phenomenal speaker, very knowledgeable. But I do agree with when we met with him, then COVID hit, and then we had that 2-year span, and it's kind of just like died.
Mhm.
And so I don't know if we, to be honest, but I don't know if we really got everything we should have,
gotten. Yeah.
because nobody was allowed to meet and everything like that. Because it was like, so I'll just be honest with you. I really don't remember we gained anything from that. I hate to say that.
I would agree that in 2020, there was not a lot of value delivered, but in 2015, it was a tremendous starting point. It was the first time we'd ever done one as an agencies where we defined like the mission statement, the values, the strategic focus areas, and it was tremendously helpful for staff. And I think new board members that I think both Hayden and Michael were elected just after that
After that, yeah.
process. So it was, I don't know if you found that helpful to, that
I thought
that
it
had
was,
been
yeah.
done, but.
And I think it, obviously helping us kind of think, big picture, big strategic picture, not just 1 year, but, 5 years plus, right? Where do we want to go? I think
Do they
that's,
come and pitch to us? I mean, pitch to the ad hoc? Like, how long does that take?
That's
well,
the ad
it's-
hoc's decision.
Absolutely.
Oh, you just look through the paper, you look through it.
I mean, you're gonna.
Right now, we just
You're
have
gonna
the
go through the
proposals,
RFPs,
but-
you may eliminate 1 or 2 of the 4 RFPs just from review going, this doesn't meet our needs and requirements.
Can I throw a suggestion in? Maybe on the ad hoc, maybe someone like Greg and Hamilton, maybe they do the research to see if there's better ways or different things than doing this. Just an idea.
I mean, I'm not a huge fan of ad hocs, but if there is one, I want to be on it.
Well, I mean, the other option is, I mean, we can do it all in open,
Open
but it's
session.
all in open session, right? It just, and we have to schedule everybody.
Eh,
And that's always my preference, is that ad hocs just.
Well,
sort of
my
carve out
thought,
the
when we
ball.
originally talked, we were looking at potentially 6 RFPs, and it was like,
So only
do
have
we
4
really want to review 6 RFPs in open session versus, hey, let's have a couple of board members and staff take a cut at these, and it's kind of like looking at one of our E&O things.
Sure.
You know,
It-
here's the proposals we've got, and here's how we've ranked them, and then we
Got it.
can discuss.
So is that really all the ad hoc is supposed to be doing, is just to review the proposals, rank them, and then we bring everything back to the board?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, well then that's.
Yeah, we're not cutting the board out at all.
No,
Just
I
trying to-
understand. I didn't know
trying
how
to
far
help
along that
with-
ad hoc process goes,
Yeah,
until it becomes a board
Yeah.
matter.
I mean, no, it could be the ad hoc goes,
Okay.
hey, we like all 4 of these. Let's have an open meeting and then interview all 4 of them
Sure.
and, however you guys want to do it. Yeah. So this item is to establish that ad hoc.
Right.
Sounds like we have
so
at
it
least
sounds
one
like we've
interest.
agreed to do an ad hoc. We've sort of agreed to do an ad hoc, and whether we do or don't, Greg wants to be on it.
Transparency.
I'm happy to volunteer as well.
Fine with me?
Yeah, okay.
Okay with me.
All right.
Do we need a vote?
I think, yeah, a motion and a second for,
I move we establish the ad hoc committee with Director Irvine and Director Hamilton as participants. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Moved by Director Hamilton, seconded by Director Mack. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. Okay, we'll now adjourn to closed session.
What?
One